From CJ Young, a super thanks. This was on reference to like confidence in the Jones boys and stuff. Minus 6.9. Everyone type nice. They're not going to spend, unfortunately. Thanks. These mailbags rapidly becoming brought to you by CJ DeYoung III because he's always in there with super thanks, and I appreciate that, CJ. It's a feature on YouTube. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click that thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever you want to send in, and we'll give you some love. Bryce, have to fill needs in free agency, but I feel we have to leave the draft with a running back, DT, wide receiver. If we draft BPA, fine. Just have to add talent even in the later rounds. I think if you sign a receiver or two, maybe you don't need to draft one at that spot. But I do think, like, with the talent levels that exist, especially at defensive tackle and at running back, and your needs at those spots, it makes so much sense to me to take a running back at some point in the first 2 days, take a defensive tackle on the first 2 days, and probably on day 3 too. I want to overhaul my defensive tackle room. If I lose Osa, the only guy I want even remotely close to a roster lock is Mozzie Smith. Then I want to bring in 3 new guys. If I keep Osa, I still want to add 2 guys. I want to do that in free agency and through the draft. From Jenkins Gaming, time with thoughts trading 11 for DK Metcalf and 2 firsts and trade them 2 firsts for Myles Garrett. Well, I don't think you're going to get 2 firsts and DK Metcalf from Seattle. That's way too much for them to give up. They're not going to do that. I don't even think DK's worth 1 first, especially if you're trading the first to acknowledge that angle there. If it works, great, sure, do it. I don't see why Seattle would sign off on giving you their first round pick and a first and DK to move up like 6 spots. Like that's not 7 spots, whatever it is. That's just a non-starter. I do think 2 firsts for Garrett is about the right trade value, though, which, again, I don't think Dallas wants to pay. CJ again with a super thanks. What's your take on Amari Cooper? Why the drops? Is he a number 1 or a solid 2? Thanks. The drops for Amari Cooper were kind of bad this year. They also mostly stopped once he went to Buffalo. Why is that? Might have been something to do with the Cleveland angle of it and the quarterback play with the Browns, and I think just general unhappiness from Amari Cooper. That's also something you have to address, that he's not the same guy he was in his prime. I don't think he's a number 1 anymore. But as a veteran wide receiver, too, who I'm probably not going to commit to long term, yeah, I have a lot of interest there. If the relationship is good, that bridge may have been burnt from both sides potentially. That one, it's not a player-to-player thing. That's probably more of a player-to-front office element that's got to be figured out. So would you bring back Amari Cooper? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section, the pinned comments of today's video. Rajanic, is there a difference between Ferguson and Pitts at this point? I think there's more upside still with Kyle Pitts, but there's a significant difference in the contracts. In particular, Ferguson's making next to nothing. Kyle Pitts is going to make almost $11 million. So I think Pitts offers you more upside as an impact player, but I don't want to pay him big money either. Danelle, Texas Wolf, Graves. The Joneses do not want to rebuild because they don't want to be in the same category as Cleveland, New York, Tennessee, Carolina. I don't disagree. I think the general mindset of the Jones boys is and often always has been, they just don't want to be bad. They don't want to be a 6 or 5 win team on a consistent basis. Even they don't want to do that for 2 years even and run the risk of, oh no, now no one cares about us. They always want to be hanging around the rim. I don't want to hang around the rim though. I would like to, score and then go get back on defense, even if I have to rebuild a little bit. That's my preferred mindset. Now, today's show is made possible by Z-Biotics. The pre-alcohol that they invented is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. when the super chats come in, I just don't bounce back the way I used to. I am older now. I am, unfortunately, able to acknowledge that. That's why I love ZBiotics so much. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on screen and get 15% off your first order when you use code chatsports at checkout. You get a subscription using said code, 6 year period at a time or the occasion. ZBiotics with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code chatsports at checkout for 15% off your order. Thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode and our good times. Mighty Ant 0215, thoughts on TCU wide receiver? Savion is a super thanks, by the way. Savion Williams, been here in late first, second round grade of the combine. I would be surprised if he went that early. I think there's a lot of fun elements to his game as a uniquely gifted height, weight, speed profile athlete. I think Jack Bech is a better pure receiver right now. I would say maybe more late day 2 is where he ends up going. Also from Mighty Ant, thoughts on these guys on day 2. South Carolina running back Demetrius Knight, Louisville cornerback Quincy Riley, Texas safety Andrew Mukuba. So I'll go in reverse order here. I like Mukuba. I thought he did a lot of really good things this past season for Texas. I think he's a good day 2 safety. Quincy Riley was one of my favorite guys going to the Senior Bowl. I think he had a downish year, bounced back. I think, again, late day 2 guy makes sense there. Don't know if you need a corner or safety, but we'll see. I'll be honest, I have not gotten to Knight yet. That is the South Carolina linebacker. I think it's Demetrius, like 95% sure there. As evidence of how divisive this class, I think PFF has him like 32 or something on their board. He's not in Dane's top 100. So I have not gotten to him yet, so I'm not going to give a bunch of insight. I'll figure out where he falls for me. But it's a weird class, man. The guy that's going to be ranked 40 on my board might be like 85 on somebody else's. It's going to be a weird class. Noah Turner. The Cowboys don't retain Rico. Draft my boy Tahj Brooks and TreVeyon Henderson. I think that works as like a 1-2 punch. Now, Henderson's going to be taken way earlier. He's more explosive, offers more juice than the other players, like Brooks, for example. You take him in second or third round, and then you can draft your Thunder and Brooks on day 3. He's a productive back. There are very real athletic concerns there. So, of the guys that won't go in round 1, like a bunch of names we just discussed. That makes it fun for me. Who is your favorite 2025 NFL draft prospect? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Rajanik, thoughts on BJ Hill and what a contract could be? Hill's solid. Not superstar, not flashy. Shouldn't be a liability on a consistent basis as a run stopper or a pass rusher. I think he's more of a number 2 defensive tackle. Plays obviously a lot of 3 technique there. I think he might get $10 million per year, though, because the DT market exploded last year. Justin Jones got that, and I don't think he's a very good player. So it's going to be expensive, that DT market. Mark clarified, I will kiss the cast of The View before Jerry Jones trades for Garrett. Garrett is a move you make. We need one last guy like the Charles Haley trade years back. We have too many holes. I am inclined to agree with that mindset, too. If you were, like, if you had the money and you were like a Bills team or a Lions, I think that makes more sense. I think you need those picks right now, especially with the way you spend money in free agency, unfortunately. Now, if you want more free Dallas Cowboys mailbags, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Shane Amick, with all the changes and where we currently stand, what is your predicted record for the Dallas Cowboys this year? It's a good question. Right now, you're like maybe a 500 team. Now, you have to go through all of the offseason. And that's because other teams also go through the offseason too. So it could get better, could get worse. You need to make real changes, or I think your best case is you win 10 games and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs right now. If you don't add more talent, it's not going to matter. You're not good enough across the board in all the phases. Daniel, what do you think about Derrick Harmon, the DT from Oregon, as a trade down candidate? Also, thoughts on Deone Walker, the DT from Kentucky in the third round. So I've got Harmon as a second-round grade. It's an early second-round grade, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if he checks in in my top 32 once I stack everybody. So trade down candidate could make some sense there. There's a lot of DTs kind of in a similar-ish bucket. There's Kenneth Grant. There's Walter Nolan. There's, let me say anybody, Mr. Graham's way higher. I think Williams could maybe in a similar-ish bucket too. It's a good DT class. So if Harmon's like your number 2, number 3 DT, whoever that ends up being, prime trade down candidate. Deone Walker, I use the term scare-roused. I don't find human beings that are like 6'7", 350 and move the way that he does. It's the planet theory. There aren't many dudes alive on the planet built like that and who move like that. They put him into coverage and it worked. It's insane. But he plays really tall. There's technique issues. I think he's actually an oversized 3 technique. And that's how I would try to use him, especially early on in his career. From Richie, how about a Jaire Alexander trade? The money is a huge issue, I think, on that. Let me double check that. I like the idea. Like, I think there's a chance Alexander ends up getting cut because it's low-key been ugly the past couple years up in Green Bay at times with Alexander. He's due, pulling up my cash breakdowns here. He's due like $17.5 million this year. It's not insane in a bubble, but with Diggs under contracts and Alexander coming off another injury-plagued season, maybe not the best value. I think there's a real chance he ends up getting cut, and that would have very much piqued my interest. I want you guys to name a player who you want to trade for. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Mark, who do you see as free agents who are realistic and won't blow up the cap? Any realistic DTs or O-linemen in the third round to start for us? Wide receiver round 2, running back round 2. We will do some breakdowns on different targets for free agency, more in-depth options there. That you can find guys. It's not that great of a class. You know, the guys that won't blow up your cap are often hurt guys because there's less value there, incentive-based deals and whatnot. That does stand out to me, though. There's several receivers. I think you can find the D lineman, like a Puna Ford, Javon Kinlaw combo versus Osa Odigizua. The money works out, intrigues me. DT O-line in the third round. O-line third round starters aren't always the most possible. BC's got a guy named Ozzie Trapillo, I think is intriguing as a tackle starter. Guard-wise, slash center-wise, interior lineman guys, maybe Marcus Bowe, Tate Ratledge get to you. DT, it is a great DT class. I think I saw the combine numbers were like, it was like 25 DTs invited last year and 41 this season, which is just an insane figure. Maybe someone like a Jordan Phillips, a Deone Walker, Josh Farmer, all guys that maybe they don't start, but they play starter snaps as part of a rotation for you. Also, from Mark, last one here. We have a chance to get the best receiver in round 1 and a huge upgrade in round 2. I don't see any studs at receiver in round 2 as I do in round 1. Running back is so deep. Now, maybe, depends on how you want to count Travis Hunter. Maybe Tet McMillan is there. Maybe he's not. But I think there's a good chance Luther Burden is there. And maybe Amarian Hampton's there in round 2. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's Caleb Johnson or it's TreVeyon Henderson or whatever. But I do think I think you're right. The receiving class is at its best in round 1. And then kind of gets some intrigue guys in like that late round 2 range. But how you count guys like, I think there's a pretty big fall off, frankly, from going from like Matthew Golden to that next tier of like Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, and Trey Harris, and Jack Bish. I mean, there's like 20, 30 spot differences there. That's pretty sizable. So I do think in a bubble, receiver, running back combination can get you some of the best juice.